Namaste, beautiful relations. Namaste. An offering of sage for the entranceway, this beautiful portal that we have now amassed, that we have now come to in this 3D world that is 2019. This amazing, new, a beautiful, powerful timeline through which all good and all potentials and visions of true to your heart are made not only possible, but probable. And how so? But through all of the work, all of the inner work that not only you, but that I and they and we have been doing, have been accumulating, have been amassing, have been cultivating. We help to create the correct conditions within ourselves. And as we do that for ourselves, to heal, to grow, to align, to love more, to receive more love, so it is for the higher good of all. Blessings and welcome, everyone. I'm so very grateful to be here today. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream, 4D Trinity. It is always such a massive honor to be with you on this platform I love, and I really love you. I love being here. I love all the ways that we get to share in all of these divine social media platforms. And YouTube is one of my favorites. So thank you for joining me here. Thank you, all of the new subscribers. Blessings. Someone's already hopped on to the comments. Thank you for hopping on and saying hello. I'm so very grateful. Skylark, Happy New Year, sister. Oh, blessings. Thanks for hopping on. Beautiful. I'm so excited today. Before we get into this exiting the matrix, which is huge. I mean, it's huge. And believe me, when I got the download, I was like, oh, really? We're going to go there from this angle. Blessings, Will. Oh, boom. I'm so glad you could hop on. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for saying hi in the comments. But when I got the download that we were going to be going here into this territory of exiting the matrix, I said, okay, so we'll do a show on it. And higher self is like, well, you'll start with one. And I said, okay. And they're like, call it part one. And I was like, okay, so we'll do like maybe 3 or 4 parts. And they're like, well, maybe, but it could go on to 25 parts. And so I was just like, okay. And the way I'm guided is that there's no, I don't feel that we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I'm getting is that we're going to start here today. We're going to sow some seeds. We're going to plant some seeds together. And then we're going to zigzag. We're going to keep coming back in. And whenever I'm guided, whenever it's divinely aligned, we're going to go into part 2 and then part 3 and wherever it's going to go. So wherever you are, thank you for coming here today. Thank you for being here. And I sincerely wish you a very happy, bright, and blessed 2019, 3D timeline 2019. Now, before we get started, again, what I wanted to say is not only thank you to all of the subscribers to this platform, but thank you all of my followers on Instagram. I'm so very grateful. All of my links are down in the show more box if you're interested. And higher self said, you don't show off your books enough. So I just want to show you my books that I have available for you to purchase at Amazon currently. This is How to Manifest with the Law of Vibration. It's a heaven on earth book, meaning that the tools, the insight, the information in here are brought down to earth to help us navigate our way into honoring, into understanding, into really creating a connection and cultivating. Can you see it? It's a little bright here. I see the glare in the screen. To cultivating a relationship and to commune with higher self, with that part of us that is ever connected to love, ever connected to wisdom, to integrity, and to the heart of your authenticity. And really what I believe heaven on earth is, which is what we do here at 4D Trinity, is we're bridging heaven on earth here through the unity of mind, body, and emotions. But what this is is this is living your truth. It is courageously, passionately allowing yourself to become undone to the point that only the truth of you resides. And then to live that in the world, to literally become vibrationally so compatible, so undeniably aligned, grounded, centered, and aware in your truth that it cannot but help but be added unto you. So that's what this book is all about. There's half the book is a workbook that you can work through with all sorts of guided practices, meditations, and affirmations. My first book is The Reiki Apprentice. And this book sums up my life as a youth all the way until I was in my early 30s, growing up and coming into my multidimensionality, coming into my spiritual awakening. I apprenticed for 3 years with a trance channel and a healer, a Reiki master, a grand Reiki master who claims to have been an apprentice to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's full of adventures. It's full of whimsical, crazy mayhem. And also the deep, deep, dark seated truth that is a thread throughout all of us that speaks to us healing our deepest, darkest fears. And in a way, it is written that you may follow my journey and also apply what I have learned to do into your own life. It is full of metaphysical energy tools that in another incarnation of a book that will come from this book, that I will compile, that will just have the outline of those metaphysical energy tools for you, that you may learn how to practice them in your daily life. And I will be putting all of these things into online courses in this next year, which I'm so excited about. I like to think of this book as Eat, Pray, Love on Acid. I learned how to heal my life with Reiki and also with metaphysical energy tools, with learning how to heal myself multidimensionally. And isn't it so? Because we are not just a body here, right? We have these layers of bodies, the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And again, here at 4D Trinity, the essence of the teachings that I am guided to share is all about bridging heaven on earth. It's all about connecting to 4D, to our heart, to our fourth dimensional level of consciousness. Some call that Christ consciousness. We do here often. And also this is this 0 point consciousness. This is this level of our sincere awareness through which, again, we are no longer lying to ourselves, where we unconditionalize ourselves from the stories, which is a part of what we're going to be going today and discussing these first levels of exiting the matrix. But it is in exploring those deeper stratas of self that we learn how to heal the mind. And we know that mind really is the governor of the emotions. How and where your mind goes gives rise to the chemical reactions in your body. And when you have chemical reactions in your body, right, your mind and your emotions together create this interplay of how you perceive the world on the outside. And we know, right, if we do some exercise, if we do pranayama, breathing practices, we meditate, we think happy thoughts, and yes, it can be as simple as that sometimes, that we gain a sense of levity, that we become levitators in this gravitational world of the grid. If you study with me, you know that I refer to the matrix, the way that I am taught and the way that I am guided to share. It is as the grid. It is the grid matrix of collective consciousness. That is all of our minds interwoven together through all time and space since we've decided that time began. And what we learn is that everything is mind. And as we learn to master our minds, we learn to master our thoughts, we learn to master our tongue and become a master of our time and space, is that we can begin to heal our lives with the valuable currency of our thought, the valuable currency of our word. And as we begin to heal our lives and speak new thoughts and think new thoughts about our bodies, about our health, our relationships, our careers, our relationship. Did I already say relationships? I did say relationships. About the world, about politics, about money, about everything. What happens is the universe begins to bend in the direction of where we place our thought, our energy, our intention, our emotion. And old timelines begin to collapse. Those old beliefs begin to collapse. Those stories that we've been told begin to collapse. And this is a part of our exiting the matrix. And so again, what abides is the truth. And so as we heal and we create unity through mind and emotions and in this body vehicle, we are naturally aligned with spirit. And I do want to take a moment to just briefly address last week we did a Ask Me Anything, which if you're new to this channel, I will be facilitating that. I'm guided to do that every month, once a month. So thank you everyone for hopping on and participating in that. It brings me just so much juice and so much joy to hold space with you and to share in that way with this beautiful community. And the first question that was addressed was about suicide. And I looked back at some of the video last week, and I realized that this person who was asking about suicide, yes, they were asking about suicide, but they were also asking what happens to my soul. And so to just double back here is what I teach, what I share, is that your soul is one with spirit. Your soul and your spirit, as I teach it, are two and one the same. All like our third eye and our heart that I teach here, they're twins, right? They reflect. They might have slightly different variables of how they interplay, of ways that we can calibrate and align and connect. But like that, spirit and soul are two in the one in the teachings I share here. And pardon my French, but your soul and your spirit are unfuckable with. Even in the illusion of the 3D, selling your soul to the devil or whatever these things are, these are just stories in and amongst the illusion. So even if you commit suicide, I do believe, and what I would offer to you if you're watching this week, dear friend, is that everything's going to be okay. Your soul will remain intact. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And I know there's different beliefs. My mother's a Buddhist. There's different theories, you know, that if you are to take your own life, that it's bad karma, etc. But here at 4DT, we're letting you off the hook. You do whatever is right to you. And what will happen is what you would like to happen. And so let it be beautiful. Let it be full of love. It's really for all ages. Next week is on giving. Next week is on giving. What does that mean, Skylark? So it's very interesting because if you follow me on Instagram, you know that what I had offered is that where we're going today with this first Exiting the Matrix Part 1 is looking at the first 3 lessons of A Course in Miracles. Isn't that so funny? And the book is in the bed. Do you sleep with your books? I totally sleep with my books. There was a time where I would sleep with 10 books around me. And my teacher had once told me, she had once said that, I remember I told this story to Will a while ago, but she had told me in a small group that were working with her, she had introduced the idea of sacred geometry, and we were like, whoa, it was so hard for our heads to get around, because she was not just talking about it in a fancy, fluffy way, which I feel that I kind of do, but she was getting into the mechanics, and we were just like, our heads were hurting, and she had the group buy this specific book, which I need to look and see if I still have it. I'm sure I do somewhere. And she had us attempt to do the first exercise in the book. And I remember, as homework, we all came back the next week, and we were like, our brains were just like, what is this? What's going on? What do I can't understand this. This is like a whole different language. And she's like, yeah, it is. And so she offered to put the book under the pillow for the next week. and to sleep in that way, and to allow the transmission of the teachings, the transmission for the highest good of what was to soak in, of what was to come, that would serve in understanding to the degree that we were ready to understand it, that those things would click into place. And don't you know it? I did that, and I went back and I did the first exercise, which was kind of mathematical, and I don't really like math, but I understand that it's an integral part of this whole system. And I got the question right, and I was like, oh my God, you know. And so anyway, offering to you that where there are sacred teachings, where there are sacred texts, and where you have a resonance with them, but you don't get it yet, or maybe it's not clicking. And we know and we trust we're not forcing things to click or to happen, but that we just allow, you know. But as you're guided, maybe putting that book under your pillow or just sleeping next to it. I often just sleep with A Course in Miracles, with my hand over A Course in Miracles and my other hand over another book, and the cat in the middle, right? But understanding that there is a transmission that can occur for the highest good. So I will have to go and get A Course in Miracles from the bed here shortly. I did make some notes though. And so in the meantime, what we're going to think about, and believe me, along these lines, as I was meditating this morning, higher self was like, oh, we are so going to be getting into like talking about Neo and the Matrix. And you know, we already have. I'll come back and I'll put some links up here later about the correlations between some of the offerings in that movie, The Matrix, and where we're going in this discussion. But ultimately, exiting the Matrix part 1, I had to look at my notes. This is all about deconstructing your mind. The deconstructing of your mind. And let me just see what Christine said here. Although I honor that some people can't be here, it's against nature, just my belief. Oh, suicide, it's against nature. I see what you're saying. I see. Thank you for that offering. You know, and isn't it wonderful that we can have these conversations here and everyone can have their own beliefs. Everyone can have their own way of seeing things, and that it all works out. And again, that's what I encourage here, is to listen to your own self, to cultivate that ability to tune into your higher self. And that is what A Course in Miracles offers as well, is to come into a communion with your own inner teacher. We all have an inner teacher, and our higher self, our the energy that we would call God, source, creator, that is that voice. And according to A Course in Miracles, it is the voice that speaks in the tongue of love and only love, that is beyond the dual nature of this universe. I'm going to go, let me pardon myself one moment. I'm going to go grab A Course in Miracles. Okay, so here it is. And you know, it's interesting. I was introduced to these teachings. Oh, I started them in 2013, 2014, 2015, where I did them religiously. I did the lessons and I read the text, the manual for teachers, all of these parts of the book. I did that for 3 years. And then last year, I took a year off and I didn't read it in that way every day. I started living it. I started really, really allowing those principles, these lessons and these aspects to be integrated into my consciousness. And I started to really live them and have the experience of them. And now in this 4th or 5th year, the guidance is to now go back in and to be that student again with that amassed awareness and knowledge. Now, this book is a training device, and all it is here to do is to help us to move out of fear-based thinking and into a thinking that is rooted in love. It helps us to understand and recognize how we ourselves place illusion upon illusion upon illusion in our own presence. And to understand that these illusions, unless they are nice ones, filled with love and with light can create obstacle in our path of simply living peacefully and simply living in the world and not of it. It is a mind training that is broken up into 3 books. There is text, which gets really thick into breaking down a lot of the ideas. There are 365 lessons, 1 for each day of the year. And then there's a manual for teachers, if you want to go even deeper. But it's really all deep. And it is a very powerful rewiring, because again, it challenges us into deconstructing our mind, as I was saying. So exiting the matrix, thinking about this collective matrix, this grid matrix of collective consciousness. And you know, if you're here with me often enough, that this is what I refer to, this piece of art that was honestly back in the day from a huge, oh, okay, the God phone. We'll come back. We'll come back. Hello? Blessings, God. Happy New Year. God says, hi, Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, we're here for the Trinity 2019. Oh, thanks. God's like, you did it, girl. You did a full year. I know. Isn't that so cool? And this beautiful community to share it all with. Yes, I know. We're doing Course in Miracles. God's like, hey, usually I call to give you something to read out of A Course in Miracles. I know, but today I guess you guided us to just go straight in with it. Is there anything that we're supposed to read or share? Yogananda? Autobiography of a Yogi. I love that book. I need to read it again. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. About duality and the illusion of the 3D. Okay, fantastic. Well, namaste, dear God. Blessings. God says hi, everyone, and namaste. I love you too. Okay, very cool. Here it is. Autobiography of a Yogi. Paramahansa Yogananda. Now, I was brought up with this individual in my household as a youth. You know, some people were brought up seeing Christ on a cross in their home as a youth, and my mother was a devout SRFer, Self-Realization Fellowship member, for the majority of my youth, and it is through her that I was introduced to these group meditations with these individuals. And so from early on, Yogananda has been a huge part of my life. He goes with me wherever I travel. There's always a photo of him and his guru with me. And so the God phone is saying, let's start off and let's read a little bit. So he wanted us to go, okay, to 299. Oh, isn't that cool? This is from a chapter called The Law of Miracles. I love that. Okay, here we go. To surmount Maya was the task assigned to the human race by the millennial prophets. So that you understand, Maya is a Sanskrit word that is assigned to illusion. To rise above the duality of creation and perceive the unity of the Creator was conceived of a man's highest goal. Those who cling to the cosmic illusion must accept its essential law of polarity, flow and ebb, rise and fall, day and night, pleasure and pain, good and evil, birth and death. This cyclic pattern assumes a certain anguishing monotony. After man has gone through a few thousand human births, he begins then to cast a hopeful eye beyond the compulsions of Maya. The world illusion, Maya, manifests in men as avidya, literally not knowledge, ignorance, and delusion. Maya, or avidya, can never be destroyed through intellectual conviction or analysis, but solely through attaining the interior state of nirvikalpa samadhi, The Old Testament prophets and seers of all lands and ages spoke from that state of consciousness. Well, isn't this interesting? Because this is exactly where we're going with this exiting the matrix, is this the understanding that first things first, what we get to become aware of is that everything out there is potentially all illusion. You know how we talk here that this world that we're shown, the world on the TV, right, that we're shown, that this is the binary level of consciousness that we interplay with. That is the grid. So as I was saying before, this is the grid matrix of collective consciousness, inspired from a piece of art I did years and years and years ago. This top plane here, this is where we reach this supreme divine space that is the 0 point, that is the heart, that is this land beyond duality, beyond the juxtaposition of love and fear, but that is love and only love. What we do as we enter and entertain this realm of exiting the matrix is we begin to learn this practice of deconstructing our mind, of undefining everything that we've been told, everything that we've been taught in this life and past lives, that we might again unveil all of those shells and come into this true power of knowing, of really understanding things from a much wiser and wider perspective and perspection. And so, yes, we are 3D bodies in this world. Yet, how much of the world are we living versus how much of our truth, of our love and only love are we living? And ultimately, as Santos Bonacci would say, we learn how to master our tongue, that we may understand this labyrinth, this passageway of this collective grid matrix of consciousness, because all it is mind. It's all of our minds conjoined in a fantastic tapestry, in a network of feeling, of thought, of emotion, of experience, since time began in this universe. And we're all plugged into it. Again, through the stories, through the conditioning, through everything we've learned about being a man, being a woman, being gay, being sick, being healthy, being fat, being skinny, being beautiful, being ugly, being rich, being poor, being from this side of town, that side of town. All of these stories. You can't get this unless you do that. You need a degree to do this. Unless you have this kind of money, you're not going there. Oh, no, that's never going to happen for you because XYZ. And it's been proven because it's here. Look at all of those experiences everyone else has had. You're not going to make that happen. How can you make that happen? But again, miracles are experienced where we are not bound to this time and space. And now I want to get something else. You'll have to pardon me. I thought I was prepared. I have tons of other notes here, but there's a picture I want to show you that will help us to explain. So we know, right? If you follow my teachings, that we learn to be a master of our time and space. And we learn here that time is on the tongue. Time we create through the words we speak about our lives, our bodies, our health, our healing, our finances, our relationships, our everything. And it's not only those that come off the tongue, but is the silent tongue within, that we speak silently within. This creates our paradigm of time in this matrix that we share. Now, the thoughts that we think create our space. The space that we hold for ourselves in our minds is what creates space and time. Space and time. Space and time. Space and time collectively. All of the grids that are spoken from all beings throughout all time and space are gathered here in the grid matrix of collective consciousness. These threads are energies that are cast off from us with every thought we think, with every word we speak. We cast off from ourselves and plug into and are plugged into the grid. Here we are, and here's our thoughts. Here's our feelings, our emotions, our experiences, and what we think about them, how we define them, is what defines us, is what defines our experience. So, understanding that your mind is a very powerful vessel, and we'll get into this first lesson of A Course in Miracles. So again, the guidance is to go through these first 3 lessons and to consider these as very powerful medicine to understanding the means by which to exit the matrix. And let's talk here actually for a moment about this matrix, because the world is full of good. The world is full of love and full of light. So this is the world, right? The polarity, the dance of opposites, the dance of the dualities, as Yogananda was speaking about, the Maya. This is all the back and forth, the tick-tock. But what is a constant, what resides as a constant, is love, and only love. As a backdrop, as a founding principle to all creation, to all time and space, is the nothingness that you are, that I am, that is love and only love. When we take away all the stories, when we've healed our life to a degree that we shift the tipping point of all of the self-identification and the stories that keep us bound to the past, bound to those feelings, bound to those triggers, bound to scarcity and lack consciousness on whatever level that it may be pertaining to us. As we break those chains, as we undo ourselves, and anyone who's met themselves along any level of a healing path knows, you get cracked open and you realize that perhaps what was true to you for a certain part of your journey of this life is no longer true. And so you leave the relationship or you enter that relationship. You leave that job or you enter that job. You know, you release that sickness and that illness and you enter health and healing. Oh, you're starting A Course in Miracles. I'm so excited. I feel like we're going to be sharing more and more and more of this, Skylark. So I'm so grateful. This is perfect timing that you're here. So lesson 1 in A Course in Miracles. Nothing I see in this room. So let's do this together. Where maybe you're in a cafe, maybe you're at home, maybe you're at work listening. I have students. You know what's so cool is I have students that are in school, in college, and they put 4D Trinity on their phone in their pocket, and they'll have an earbud in their ear and they'll listen while they're doing their studies. I think that's so cool. So blessings. And high five. I love to know this community is like, it's filtering out in all these different ways. So maybe you're in class right now. Wherever you are, maybe you're sitting on a park bench. Look about yourself. Lesson 1, nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, means anything. As you look slowly around yourself, this table does not mean anything. Think to yourself, this chair does not mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. This foot does not mean anything. This pen does not mean anything. And then you look a little further away. This door does not mean anything. That body does not mean anything. That lamp, that sign, that shadow doesn't mean anything. So this is the deconstructing of your mind. Again, everything that you've been told about everything. From that everything, what feels good to you? What feels true to you? What continues to serve you and what no longer continues to serve you. I'm not here to tell you what your truth is, but to help shine a light that you may follow your own light and find out for yourself what your truth is. And it is as we shine that light and we allow ourselves to go through that path of being light, of choosing love, we strengthen our spiritual will muscles. And so we garner greater ability to keep choosing love, to keep choosing light. And so to see with eyes of love. Your chakras are eyeballs. Remember that 4DT I did last year? Your chakras are eyeballs. And this also brings me to, they want me to tell you that next week's 4DT is alcohol. What is it? It's alcohol, sobriety, and the higher self. So we're going to be talking about that in next week's 4DT. So this deconstructing, nothing in this room means anything. So wow, let's think about this. The culture, the religion, the stories you've been told about your body, about everything in the world. Wow, step one, lesson one, nothing here in my environment means anything. That is 0 point. That is dropping the story, dropping your story, dropping all the stories you've been told about everything, and entering a land that takes us back to a 0 point sense of being, to a reset button, to a part of ourselves that can then undefine and then redefine where there were fear-based notions, where we have knee-jerk reactions specific to people, places, things, where there has been unforgiveness. And you know, I know it's very hard. Pardon me. Excuse me. I know it's very hard because as I've been a student with A Course in Miracles, with a really fantastic study group out here, which I would love to do more of in this coming year. So we'll see how that works out. But I know I have a buddy that I'm studying with in this year, so it's a beautiful supplement in itself right now and always. But I remember there was a girl in our class and she became very perturbed at this idea. What do you mean nothing means anything? My father abused me. How are you going to tell me that that doesn't mean anything? She said, you know, and rightly so. In a 3D world, it's like, okay, yes, that has validity. That is your experience. That is what you know from what has happened to you. That is your truth as it stands in the now, in the way that you are holding that truth. Yet, what A Course in Miracles would say is practice forgiveness and allow yourself to see things differently. And she said, well, I'm not ready to forgive him. And the teacher said, well, okay, when you are, and when you have this little willingness to place forgiveness there, that is the alchemy, that is the miracle in itself that creates the correct conditions for you to begin to dismantle what that person means to you, the charge, the polarity, the duality, the hurt, the pain, all the stuff that you, this woman's in her 40s, that all this stuff that you've carried with you since a youth, since this thing has happened, it will start to dismantle and deconstruct, as we're saying, deconstruct your mind about it. So as we have those hurt experiences with individuals, to the degree that we've resolved and healed and placed love and forgiven and worked on these aspects, is to the degree that we will have a new experience. So I know for many years, and you know if you've read my book, The Reiki Apprentice, my whole thing is being a victim. And I often say it here that it's only been, you know, in my early 40s, a couple years ago, that I really completed that I finally came full cycle with that, through healing my life, through really consciously choosing doing the work and knowing that it's an inside job and that only I could do it for myself. But before that, my whole life, all I was doing was beep, beep, was sending out these signals. I'm a victim. I'm in pain. Look at what happened to me. This is my story. And so as I did that, I would plug into the greater collective of all of those stories through all time and space that everyone had, that I shared collectively, right? With many, many others. And there's nothing wrong about that. But there did come a time as I was healing my life where I realized the power that I was giving away, the power that I was not enabling myself to be with peace through holding on to these stories, through holding on to being a victim, through holding on to all the triggers, the pain, the shame, the projections about men I had, the fears about sex I had, the fears about being a woman, all the ways that it trickled into all the other aspects of my life. It was all this ball of yarn that as I began to forgive, as I began to love myself more, forgive myself, that ball of yarn became untangled. And I began to see through the untangling, that web, I began to see myself clearer and clearer. And it continues. As long as we're a body on this planet, it continues to the degree that we meet ourselves there. It continues. The vision of self, the vision of love, the realization of self, the realization of love, and only love, love without an opposite, love without fear, without judgment, becomes activated. It is given the right of way. And so, yes, it may take time, and all in your perfect time. If you're not ready to forgive, if you're not ready to let that energy shift just yet, then that's okay. Yet knowing that at any moment that you are ready to go there, it will be so. So understanding that what we think and what we speak is exactly what we experience. Everything inside of us determines what we experience on the outside, whether it's the perpetuation of being a victim, the perpetuation of unforgiveness, the perpetuation of pain, of hurt, of sorrow, of scarcity, of lack, of being jealous, of feeling guilt, of feeling shame, or maybe of projecting that onto others. Whatever aspect it is, what we carry with us is what we will be plugged into, is what we will be fed, and what will multiply for us, right? We know that what we give thanks for blesses that, whether it's a person, a friend, a place, a thing, your meal, your water, your shoes, your toes, your fingers. You bless them. Oh, that's funny, right? And you'll multiply, you'll gain more fingers. But you know what I mean? Like greater health. I bless my health. I bless this, every time you receive money, your paycheck, whatever it might be, blessing it, saying thank you, multiplies. Not only that, feeling realization within you, but that energy goes out from you into the grid, and then you start to collect and connect with all other like people through all time and space. This is all of your lifetimes, not just this lifetime, unless you believe there's only one life. With all others that share in gratitude. And so that's how it is multiplied. Yet again, nothing I see in this room means anything. So with saying that, we denounce the need for one thing to be right and one thing to be wrong. So we're not saying here that you have to do anything at all, or that you have to change anything at all. For your path is yours. And there is a continuation in these teachings of A Course in Miracles of non-duality, of really nothing being special, but just the truth being love. God being love, God being truth, truth being God, God being love, love being truth, love being God, that love is, and the dismantling of our minds. The deconstructing of our minds is that first place that unless we have the little willingness to go there and think, well, I'm not ready to forgive that person yet, but I could certainly think differently about this. Even a food, right? A food that you eat. You might feel like, and I know I've had to do this with certain foods, and some things are just not for your body. Here's an interesting story. I know for me, for years, I've been a vegetarian for 33 or something crazy like that years. And then I was a vegan for part of my story when I was in New York, and now I'm unvegan, but I'm aware now of the sensitivities in my body, of really what serves it, what I can digest, and what my body says, like, I need help with this, or please don't put that in me, I can't digest it. And so I've been through these phases, muscle testing, like what feels right, what do I want to eat, what can my body digest, but then also really realizing I had gotten food poisoning, really severe food poisoning from off beets, from beets. And they were organic and they were everything. This is back in New York. I mean, projectile, it was awful. And I was a nude model at FIT in New York at the time. And I was sitting, oh my God, I was sitting modeling. And it was pretty hardcore. Needless to say, I had to leave and excuse myself, and many, many days of severe just getting this stuff out of me. So anyway, for years like that, I'd be like, like I just can't even, I get the weebie-jeebies thinking about beets, looking at a picture of beets. I don't even want to see them on the menu. Beets, beat it, beets. Yet then over many, many years, my body started asking for beets. And I was like, what? What? And I had to unplug from all the thoughts that I had about the beets, from that experience of being like, of getting ill, of feeling disgust, of feeling like, oh, hell no. My body said, come on, there's nutrients, there's nutrition in here, and we want you to start eating beets again. I had to reconfigure. I had to, nothing in this room means anything. I had to look at the beet and redefine this beet. Nothing in this room means anything. This beet means nothing. I had to zero it out, the definition, all the stuff that I'd put onto beets, oh dear, and allow a new definition to happen. That's what we're doing, exiting the matrix. And I know this is a funny story, but this is it. It's those little things and how they create the larger macrocosm. And so over time, I cultivated a new relationship and a friendship with beets, and now I love them. I'm also very, very mindful. If something's not, not contained correctly, or if it's been sitting out too long, I listen to my body, and my body's like, you can skip these beets. We'll wait for fresh ones later. There's also with allergies, right? I know someone in the past who had severe allergies to cats. And then we were setting up to be roommates, to move in. And they were like, oh God, that's right, you have a cat. And it was like, well, what are they going to do? And so they worked with homeopathy and with their belief system. And so they took a 3D homeopathic remedy for 30 days only. But they also went into a 4D spiritual plane, into the grid, and they reconfigured, right, all their thoughts and their patterns. Nothing about this cat means anything to me, right? Whereas they would look at a cat and they'd start to get like, ooh, itchy eyes, and like even just looking at a picture of a cat. Isn't that so funny the way that works, right? The holographic universe, which will be a part of these teachings as we go on. And so they got to reconfigure how they thought about the cat, how they thought about fur. And with a 3D homeopathic 30-day, medicine, as you will, they reconfigured their thoughts about it. And I tell you, in 30 days, they were able to have that cat on their lap and pet them without breaking out into hives, without getting the scratchy eyes and all the sneezy stuff that would have usually accompanied them. So this is it, deconstructing the mind. And these are very rudimentary examples, not so much with that girl at the beginning that I was talking about, where she had been abused by her father. That's the massive now. We start with the allergies and the food, and we start with these little things. Or even looking at the clock. I've only got so much time. Deconstructing that thought. Nothing I see in this room means anything. Look at your clock. Nothing in this room I see means anything. So that's lesson 1. Lesson 2, I have given everything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me. Again, I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. Again, out of this window, on the street, wherever you might be. So again, let's think about that. Everything we see reveals itself to us through the way that we decide to see it. Remember what we say here. And what really was a gift, when I entered a deeper sphere of my shamanic initiation, which was with nature and gifted by nature, I didn't know it at the time, but now looking back, and it's something that we say here often, is this gift of this sentence that came from spirit. And it says, my environment is alive and responds to my perception of it. This beat is alive and responds to my perception of it. This cat is alive. This allergy is alive and responds to my perception of it. My father, even if he's dead, the memory of that experience is alive and responds to my perception of it. So how we see, what we see around us, gives the potency to that which is an extension of us, because really everything is connected in our holographic universe. It gives rise to the qualities that will then pronounce themselves and be present in our reality. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. Now have you? Or are they old paradigms given through family? Maybe, and this sounds awful, so in a bubble of light, but beaten into you. I have friends, I know people that have had that upbringing, you know, of really parents being violent and abusing them, and of telling them, like, this is what it is. You got it? You got them, where you're, you know, they're scared out of fear into like, okay, yes, 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 yes. And that's a lot of undoing that. But we all have these things in our own way, right? We all have these memories, these pasts that we get to contend with, that we get to heal and make peace with to the degree that we can, so that we can deconstruct our mind, so that we can exit the matrix. And really, we're not really going anywhere. We're still here. We're still in a body. Well, you don't have to be. You can leave anytime you'd like, honestly. Yet, while we're in a body, being in the world and not of it is heaven on earth, is 4D consciousness. And I know there's other teachers out here in YouTube land, and their thing is to teach on the 5D. My job is to teach about 4D. The bridge that connects the 3D, third chakra, with the 5D, throat chakra, the 4D. Very important to not just skip into the 5. Anyway, no polarity. It doesn't mean anything to me. I know what I'm here to do, and I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful for you being here. So I pray that this is totally connecting. If you have questions, please ask in the comments. If you're just joining us, I'd be so grateful if you say a little hello, a little hi in the comment box. And thank you so much, everyone, as always, for being present, for being here. So I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has to me. And this is a big one, because people are brought up with so many stories, but our families are just doing their best. They're just doing the best that they can, and they're often just repeating what was shown to them about religion, what was shown to them about sex, or not shown to them about sex or religion. You know, what's shown to them about money, the principles, the values that are shared, that are given. Oh, I was thinking about you, April. I miss you so much. I was thinking so deep about you last night. I was like, ooh, we got to touch base. Thank you for being here, for saying hi. I'm so grateful. So all of these stories, all of these things, you know, whether you can make it, you can't make it, you have to do this in order for ABC. When we are moving into the realm of this 4D consciousness, when we are exiting the matrix, when we are allowing love to rule, love and only love, not eat all your food on your plate because other people are starving love, not binary, not do this because you better be afraid because that's going to happen, not don't go out with wet hair because you're going to get sick and die. Not this polarized, you got to do this so that this doesn't happen. Not this juxtaposition. But the love and only love, where there's exponential potential in variables that are rooted in love and only love, not love versus fear or dual thinking. And it's a huge gap to bridge, but we're doing it together. You being here, us having these conversations, you having these conversations with your friends, with your family, your beloveds, us doing our work, us just loving ourselves consciously every day, more and more and more, is doing the work to go beyond the veil. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. And now, in my book, as I was coming into my second and third year of studying A Course in Miracles, I started to write notes. I was getting it. I was getting it. And so I wrote here, through your own experience, you define people, places, or things, and or are given definitions, meanings of things through family, culture, society, and religion. So again, what's true to you? And not only that, but what do you want to be true? What do you want to be true about the world? The world is fucked and we're all going to die. Is that what you really want to be true? And maybe you do. And okay, that's like a whole other show. Yet is that truly what is in your heart? Or, I mean, and I can't tell you again what's in your heart. That's up to you. Yet what I will tell you, what I know because I have learned it for myself. Everything I teach here is because I've learned it myself. And also there's channeling that's happening also. But the truth is that you are love. You are not your mind. You are not the thoughts. You are not the stories. And if you are the stories, the thoughts, allow them to be the good stories, the good thoughts. So the whole world, sucks and we're all going to die. That's one story. That's one thought. Does that make you feel good? Does that serve you feeling that you can relax in your body here on this planet? And it doesn't to me. I would have such anxiety if I really thought that world leaders had the power that we are told that they have on the TV. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little sarcastic here. My old self conspiracy theorist, which I have that in the closet, that I used to be very hardcore with that, But in these teachings and over these years, the spirals of ascension, of like aha-ing, all of that has allowed a new perception of all of that. Again, that is rooted in love. And again, that is knowing that love is the truth. Love and only love is the truth. And when you plug into that miracle mindedness, when you give love the right of way and you get out of the way, and I mean you, the self with the small s, the self that has the limiting thoughts, that has all the pain that still is waiting to be healed, the self that loves to wallow in self-doubt and in judging the world and judging others. And there's these paradigms, right? The light body, the tar body. We talk about this. Yet when we allow the tipping point, the scales to lean deeper and deeper into that realm of love and only love, and we realize I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. When we realize that we place love ahead of ourselves, and we let love, what I call in my book, How to Manifest with the Law of Vibration, in that book, we call love the quantum organizer. Love then is given the right of way to perform the alchemy of metaphysics in the invisible world, in the world that we don't really see. And maybe you see the grids, but maybe you don't. Not important either way. But in that invisible world that is such a part of our world, there's stuff going on in the spaces between your body and my body, between you and that cup of coffee. There's stuff in the invisible realm, and what we're doing is we're learning how to connect consciously with that stuff, with that collective, with the matrix. We're not just saying, fuck you, matrix. I'm going to light a match and burn you and I'm out of here. That's a funny metaphor. But we're saying, you are an amazing tapestry and system, and I'm going to learn how to master you. I'm going to say, thank you, grid matrix. And I'm going to learn how to master you by mastering my mind, by mastering my tongue, by mastering myself, by going to the point of creation of all of those definitions and things that I've allowed to define me, to allow that I've allowed to define my limits and my fear-based notions. And the first law of order is to alchemate these principles into a higher version, into love and only love. Let me just read the comments before we go on. When I meditate, I'm not of this world. Yes, sister, hallelujah. That's right. That's right. Beautifully said. Lesson 3. I do not understand anything I see in this room. So we've gone from nothing I see in this room means anything. Lesson 1. Lesson 2, I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me, right? Due to our past experiences. Well, I know that if I don't book with that hairdresser, or if I don't book with that dentist, I'll just never get an appointment. And oh my God, and da da da. It's even those little things that we do. And the universe says, okay, the matrix just agrees with you. It just agrees with you, whether it's good or bad, whatever your thought system is about anything at any given moment in time and space. You're creating it, and the universe provides it. Your environment is alive and responds to your perception of it. So how are you perceiving things? Again, we get to drop, we get to release, we get to zero it all out with these lessons. Deconstructing your mind, exiting the matrix is exiting from all of those thought systems that would make you, that would have you think that the fear in this world, of this world, is real. That's the real exiting the matrix, is to be so powerfully leaning into love, like it's your BFF, like you know love's got your back, like you could fall and love will catch you. That is the quantum order that gives rise. That is your faith. That is beyond reason. We can write books. We can, we can put it into mathematics. We can do our formulas, which are all beautiful, and I love all that stuff. Yet ultimately, it's you. It's your spirit. It's your soul resting into your spirit and your soul. Love is invisible, yet it shows where it is allowed to be given the right of way. It is showed to us in so many beautiful, miraculous ways, through synchronicity, through flow, through your perfect health, through your perfect tongue, through your perfect mind, through the happenstance of romance, through the happenstance of beauty, through the happenstance of the divine creations and visions that you have, that you're here to bridge and bring to this earth. If you would just for, and I'm not talking about you, believe me, I'm talking to myself, just for this one moment, get out of our way, get the tar body out of the way, I would say. And even still, right, it's an inside job, and it's an everyday thing. Yet the more we tip the scales, the more love we place on that scale, the more we choose love, again with our spiritual will, the strengthening of that will becomes. And so as the tar body comes, the self-doubt, the fear, all those old stories, your grandma, your mom, your all that stuff. If you read my book, The Reiki Apprentice, that it's really only the first chapter or two, maybe, where we're in my youth. And then we hop to New York, where I meet my teacher, the trance channel, and the Grand Reiki master. But if you read my book, in the first chapter, what I was brought up with was my grandmother telling me that all men, when they look at you in the eyes, all that they're thinking about is that they want to have sex with you. And she told me that over and over and over as a youth. I didn't even know what sex was, but I knew it was bad and it was horrible, and that men, when they looked at me, that's what they want. I had no idea what the fuck that whole thing meant, and it fucked me up for years. This is what I'm talking about. Deconstructing. This thing my grandmother told me means nothing. Doesn't mean anything. This story I've been told about, blah, 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 doesn't mean anything. Eraser, brain eraser, grid eraser, mind deconstructor. Let me stop casting out all these threads about all this stuff. Let me get out of fear. And let us rest in love. Let us, to the degree that we're ready, to the degree that this stuff makes sense and resonates to you, let it. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. So I'm in a room full of men that are looking at me. Well, I'm pretty screwed if I let that belief system that my grandmother instilled in me be true. How do I get out of that? By having a little willingness to see things differently. By allowing my mind to be deconstructed. And in that way, releasing the signals boop, boop, that I'm giving out subconsciously over my entire life that says that that's a truth that I walk with, that then connects me to the greater strata of collective consciousness that then is piped down into me to have that greater reality. My environment is alive and reacts to my perception of it. So then every man in my presence is going to feel this weird sexual something. And believe me, that's all I grew up with. It's all in my book. And you learn with me how that became deconstructed. And before I was even in A Course in Miracles with the metaphysical energy tools, and of course, with Reiki, with learning how to heal my life, with the blessed gift of Reiki. Lesson 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room. So then we go to this point, and I guess I should read a little bit of the text here, because there's the lesson. I know, Chris, our Skylark, you were saying you want to get into A Course in Miracles. Hey, Fred Terry, blessings. I'm very well. Thank you for joining us. There's the lesson, and then there's text. So let's see. Whatever you see becomes a proper subject for applying the idea being, I do not understand anything I see in this room. Be sure that you do not question the suitability of anything for application of the idea. These are not exercises in judgment. Anything is suitable if you see it. Some of the things you see may have emotionally charged meaning for you. Try to lay such feelings aside and merely use these things exactly as you would anything else. The point of these exercises is to help you clear your mind of all past associations, to see things exactly as they appear to you now, and to realize how little you really understand about them. It is essential, therefore, that you keep a perfectly open mind, unhampered by judgment, in selecting the things to which the idea for the day is applied. Now, this is interesting, and I think it says it here in the first lesson. Only be sure that nothing you see is specifically excluded. So we use these exercises indiscriminately, meaning that we're not only choosing, and I know that we might feel like, well, I can't, like that girl in the study group where she's like, I can't look at my father who abused me and say, this doesn't mean anything to me. She wasn't ready to go there, but she could say it about the beets or about the allergies to the whatever. You know, she could say it here and there. But what A Course in Miracles is inviting us into doing, and what we're as a whole being invited into doing, into this idea of exiting the matrix, is the complete deconstructing of everything equally and not favoring one aspect over another. Because then we are perpetuating the duality. We are still placing judgment. We are still favoring one thing over another. And I pray that that's clear. That it's not just about selectively deciding, okay, well, this means something and this doesn't mean something. And you know, there's another story, because there's a whole teaching in here about special relationships. And there's a story about a group, another group in A Course in Miracles, where in the teachings share that no relationship is special. And there was a couple that was studying in this study group, and they had such an issue with that because they felt very special. As many individuals in love, you know, that juju, that like real, like juicy, like when you're in love, people call it the honeymoon phase. And I believe it can go on and on and on and on. And this couple was in that phase, and they just could not come to terms with this idea that their relationship was not special according to A Course in Miracles. And they ended up leaving the study group. But this is it. It's even dismantling that. It's dismantling how you would think to define anything, trusting and knowing that love is the truth in that dismantling, you are not losing anything, but you are creating the correct conditions for more love to be added to that relationship, more love to be added to your health, to your career, to your body, to your mind, to your consciousness, and to all things in all ways. Fred, we're reading from A Course in Miracles. We're looking at the first 3 lessons of A Course in Miracles with regard to this dismantling of our minds, with regard to the deconstructing of our minds as the entryway, as the beginning point of exiting the matrix, is by first becoming aware of the thoughts that we think, the words that we speak, and how the thoughts that we think is the space that we hold for ourselves, and how the words that we think create the reality, create the aspect of time that we experience in this matrix. And the interesting thing is that, heaven on earth resides exactly where you are. Heaven on earth is in the matrix. Again, as Santos would say, we learn how to master the word, that we may move through this labyrinth of the tapestry, this network of the collective grid matrix of this collective consciousness, that we may plug in to the 0 point where love is the master, love and only love, and have that divine nectarous, beautiful connection with love as it travels through our word, our thought, our deed. And so bridging heaven on earth through our body vehicle as a multidimensional being, taking responsibility for the thoughts that we think and the words that we speak and how they project out into our world and help to sustain and create certain realities, be they good or bad, be they ones that we would have and ones that we would not have. So again, the choice is, what would you have? And it's so interesting. I pulled out, I've written on New Year's Eve. I did not go out and party or drink or anything, but I sat and I wrote 30 text cards of affirmations to work with in the beginning of this new year. And they're affirmations that you say into the mirror. And there is a small book that I'm working. There's so many books. There's so much stuff. And I'm excited to one day for this to just be my soul work. Because, if you're a creative person, there's this balance of you get to go to work and then you get to come home and work on really your play, your creations that you have and that you hold. And there's just so much that has been given, and I'm so very grateful. And so I allow the perfect order to be guided for that which I'm to share. And anyway, so there's a small book called 30 by 3 by 30. You write 30 affirmations. I'll just tell you a little bit now so you can get into it if you want. You write 30 affirmations. You say them into the mirror 3 times a day for 30 days and watch your life change. I did this when I was first given this idea. And Fred, I see that you have comments. I will definitely pop back in there for a moment. To finish this point, though, I remember the first time I did this exercise. I did it, and I did the 30 days. 30 affirmations, 3 times a day, in your eyes, looking in the mirror. Louise Hay, old school style. Really the only way style, I feel. It's not the only way, but it's a very potent and powerful way. The shifts that happened in my mind, in the way that I was connecting to the matrix, to the grid matrix of collective consciousness, was given the right of way to shift and to transform to such a powerful degree. My whole life shifted and changed, and I rode that wave. I rode that wave for a whole year from just doing one 30-day set of these affirmations in that way. And again, this is another thing that universe is like, okay, make an online course, make a little online course for that. So I look forward to sharing that with you. But the whole point is this affirmation by Louise Hay that says, there is time and space for everything I need to do. And isn't it beautiful? Because in that way, there's just this beautiful, succinct allowing of a perfect order to come into play. So even if you don't know what the right words or the right thoughts are just yet of how to think about things, to begin to create that exit from the matrix, just to know that there is time and space for everything you need to do is just such a beautiful, beautiful way to find peace, to begin to explore who you are in a relaxed state in peace. You're so hilarious. I can't stop talking, so I use my hand over my mouth. You know, it's funny you say that, Fred, Terry, because my teacher used to say, you know, she was a trance channel. She wasn't always channeling. She was a human in a body most of the time. But she would tell these stories about how she'd be in the presence of people and holding a lot of space in many, many ways. And she would be speaking, and people would ask her questions all the time because she's this massive teacher and, you know, all this healer and a psychic and all this stuff. And she would tell me, she's like, oh, I had to edit that. Oh, I had to edit that. And she would say often that she would be talking and she would be sharing, and that out of the blue, she always said a big green hand would come and cover her mouth. And this was just so interesting. So it seems like you might be having your own experience with that in, you know, silencing the tongue. Not everything has to be said. Not everything has to be said. Chris, our Skylark says right on, we can change our mindset at any time. Yes, yes. Will you ever cover your own mouth? Oh, now you're just getting sassy here, Fred, honey. Okay, so lesson 3. I do not understand anything I see in this room. Anything I see in this room. So again, 0 point. Beginner's mind, no mind. That's where we're getting to. No connection to the grid, right? No internal wiring to set off the repeat sequence. So we're allowing ourselves to not understand what the meaning is in this room. So there's this, nothing I see in this room means anything. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. Coming to this point of, I do not understand anything I see in this room. And when you don't have an understanding of anything in your presence, what we call it here, what we talk about is having no mind about it, having no grids about it. So what had perhaps set you off at some point where you'd have a throng of grids, a throng of thoughts, a throng of situational, emotional triggers and chemistry that would be activated in you specific to a situation at once. It's like Neo with the bullets. He doesn't even know at the end of the movie of Matrix 1, he doesn't even know that they are bullets. There's a cast of bullets shot forth at him, and he has no definition. It's not even that these bullets have no meaning to me. It's just that nothing in this room has any meaning to me. And he looks at them. And because they have no meaning to him, because there is no mind in him about it. Lesson 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room. Those bullets have no power over him, and they drop to the floor. And what happens as we begin to exit the matrix, we begin to tap into these, our inner Neo, our lights of creation light up, and we start to have these moments where we're like, oh man, it happened. I exited. I was out. But now I'm back in. You get the phone call and you're like, and you come back in to the world. But again, we're learning to balance all of these polarities. We're learning to hit that tipping point. First of all, to balance, to be aware that you are participating constantly through your mind, through your mouth, into the matrix, into this collective grid matrix, the matrix of collective consciousness. And then you learn how to master your mind, master your tongue, and become a conscious co-creator in and of it. And that's when you start to collapse the timelines. That's when you start to have no mind about things. You start to redefine. And so I'm going to read a little bit from these notes. And I wonder if we'll do a meditation. I haven't been guided that we'll do one. But again, if you've been hurt, abused, bullied, you know, anything where there's any kind of a polarity, the antidote, the medicine is always in forgiveness. Forgiveness is that healing salve that collapses time. It is our little willingness to choose love, to choose light, that gives, again, love the right of way to do its miracle work. All is mind. All is mind. Deconstructing our mind from a fear, scarce, lack consciousness realm into a love, abundance, and generosity realm. the truth, all is love. And so if all is mind, we're very well taught, right? Through our minds, again, through the belief systems that we're given when we come into this world from our families, from our societies, our cultures, our religions. And they're deeply rooted as a physical body in this world through our experience of our senses. What we see, what you see is real. If you can see it, then you can manifest it, you know, or if you can believe it, you can manifest it. Where am I going with this? Let me gather my thought here a moment. Because there was something I wanted to say about the senses. Okay. So the senses have told us, we've learned through using our senses what is real, because I can feel it, because I can touch it, I can taste it, I can see it. I can see violence on the TV, so I know the world is a scary place to be. Yet that deconstructing of the mind and seeing beyond the veils of what is shown to us, and either choosing to turn the TV off or choosing to see what we see on the TV as a part of the Maya, as a part of the illusion, and choosing to see even the worst of circumstances, whatever it might be, to see the love in it. Remember, Mr. Rogers would tell that story when there was something happening that was awful. His mother would tell him, look for the helpers. You know, see the good. See the good. There is always good, even if it's a tiny little flower in and amongst a war-torn place in the world. It's to go beyond the illusion, because the world would have us, again, believe it's just set up like that. And it's not bad. Again, the matrix isn't bad. We're not here to torch it and burn it and to run. You know, we can love it. We can embrace it as we do our shadow, as we do our tar body, as we do all these aspects that are, you know, dwelling and rooted in polarity and in duality. They're here to show us, to learn us, to help us explore how to come back to love, how to master love, and how to allow love to really master the instrument that we are. So as we become aware that the world at our fingertips and at the end of our senses are a part of the 3D of the matrix. And like Skylark said, when she meditates, she's not there. We learn how to connect to our higher self. We learn how to connect to God, to source, to that eternal energy, what name you give it, that is love and only love. We realize we are more than just this mere body. And if I'm more than this mere body, is that the same for all else in existence? Well, I can choose that is, and through the filters I see, again, you're going to choose your truth. But if I allow that for myself to be, that is what creates, again, the invisible, the metaphysical anointing of any situation. Think about it. And the situations that are coming to pass in your life. If you can be kind, if you can be gentle, if you can be silent, and like Fred, put a hand over your mouth at times, and not speak. Maybe those angry words or those bitter things that are in your mind or that are just a part of you being hurt from someone else from many, many moons ago. If we can choose love, have a little willingness to choose love and place love here, place love there, place love in the past. That's the power. That's the miracle. That's the miracle right there. Anything rooted in love gives rise to the miracle. And you can choose to be miracle-minded in any moment. You can always come back. Even if you slip, you're like, oh, I'm back in the matrix. I'm back in this dual thinking. I'm back being fear-based. I'm back thinking that I don't have enough money to pay my rent. I'm back thinking that this world that I'm told is real because of my senses confirm it. Yet let me remember that I am a multidimensional being, that I am spirit, that I am love. The relief, and then love is given the right of way. Because you're no longer focused on what you think the world is. You're no longer focused on the shared consensus of limitation, of lack, and of scarcity. And then this gives rise to your sixth sense, which is the combining of all of your senses together at once with spirit, where clairaudience, clairvoyance, right, your telepathy, all of your supernatural abilities are given right of way. And where there is at once then this true knowing that is not rooted in fear, but that is boundless, rooted in love, where you give rise to that being. I mean, really, exiting the matrix, not being bound, but being sovereign, being limitless. So again, A Course in Miracles is turning us on to higher self, to God, to our inner Jiminy Cricket. Sign up if you have not done yet. My link is down below. Go to my website, which is my name, tuesdaymaythomas.com, and you'll see a link where you can sign up for my monthly love letter, which will be coming out mid-month in January. But also when you do sign up at my website, you get a free PDF version of my book, The Higher Self, Blueprint of Mastery. And I refer to the higher self, just like Jiminy Cricket in the movie Pinocchio. It's that internal teacher that always has our highest good, that is always saying, hey, over here, or over there, or now is the time, or now is not the time. And it's those versions of voices that are all rooted in love, that are the higher self, that are the God, that are that internal teacher that A Course in Miracles is turning us on to. So the grid matrix, it is something outside of you, yet it is also within you. Your brain, your body network, the World Wide Web, the grid is this interstellar, the micro that reflects the macro. The interstellar equals the outer stellar. Now, here's a quote. I was listening to some Course in Miracles on YouTube, and here's a quote from it. You respond to what you perceive. To what you perceive, you shall respond. So again, my environment is alive and responds to my perception of it. How you would perceive it, like last night, I teach yoga, right? Last night, a woman came into the class, and my ego mind, my fear-based mind, my, the tar mind, had a judgment about her right away, and judged that she was grumpy, and that she didn't like me, and that she was just there to do yoga, but that she was judging me, and within 3 seconds, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me deconstruct this. Let me zero this out and place love there and let love rule. And by the end of the class, it was fine. But that was like this little thing in the back of my mind. You're in a coffee shop, you go in, and this person has a certain face on them, maybe. And you think, oh, they're grumpy. Ooh, they're not nice. Like before you even have had a chance to meet them. Yet, we don't know what they're going through. Maybe they had a big thing fall on their toe and they're in pain. And you know what I've realized is a lot of folks that maybe do seem grumpy, or that are impolite or impatient or frustrated, they are experiencing degrees of pain in their physical body that are unbearable. And they're doing the best that they can. I know when I went through the passage, the death of my dear beloved that many of you know about, that happened just in November. But it didn't just happen in November. This person very close to me, like a father figure, was dying for 1.5 years of cancer. Had to have a leg removed and amputated. There was 1.5 years of surgeries and chemos and all this stuff. And the amount of grace that this individual embodied and bestowed and blessed everyone. And we home hospiced him in the last months of his life. And thank God he got to spend much of his life at home during his healing. But there were periods where he was in nursing homes and stuff. I would go in and visit him, and he was like the mayor, just blessing everyone. He knew everyone's name, and he would say, God bless you. And that was his way. Maybe you don't use the G word, and that's okay. But he had used this situation that he could have become very bitter about and very 3D about, in the way of feeling that a victim to his diagnosis. But he alchemated it, and he chose love. And he chose love the whole way out until his death. He metaphysically allowed love to give rise to the highest conditions that he could be met with in people, places, and things. Because if you've been in nursing homes, I worked in them for 15 years, in hospice and skilled nursings, they're not all equal. And not everyone working there, like any place in the world, not everyone there wants to be there working. And I think a lot of the gifts and the angels, the beautiful love that channeled through to meet him there was there because he placed it there himself. And so like that, we can do that for ourselves. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. The world is a learning device. The world is a learning device. The Matrix is a learning device. This book is a learning device. All books are learning devices. You are a learning device. The mind, okay, this is another quote from A Course in Miracles. The mind can elect what it chooses to serve. The only limit put on its choice is that it cannot serve two masters. Love or fear. Your mind cannot serve two masters. So this brings me in closing to this idea that we're aware of, perhaps. Oops, pardon me one second. This idea that we're aware of, especially if we, I don't know, if you meditate, if you practice pranayama, or if your studies have taken you into this realm of understanding that in the physical body, in this physical domain, there is the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And we can only be in one or the other at any given time. And isn't that interesting? We're either living in fight or flight, in stress mode, where the adrenal glands and the chemicals in the body are responding to fear, to stress, because of our mind, because of the thoughts that we keep on repeat, because of the things we're projecting. If I'm thinking that everyone around me is grumpy or is a threat or is this or is that, my body is going to have to live just ready to fight, ready to run, ready to survive. You know, even if it's, and especially where it's subconscious, where it's these invisible patterns, like what I was sharing earlier about my grandmother. I mean, that stuff ran my life, and it had me in the palm of its hand in a fear-based world where I was very, very, very afraid to just be and to accept life there. So, parasympathetic is the rest and digest. This is where we meet ourselves when we relax. This is where we know ourselves as the unstressed version of ourselves. This is you knowing who you are outside of the bounds of the fear-based notions of time and space. This is you in your full power and authority, rooted in love. You can only be in one or the other at any given moment. And just like that quote, your mind is either going to be rooted in fear or rooted in love at any given moment. What feels good to you? What would you have be true to you? What serves you? We can change our mindset at any time. Absolutely, Skylark. Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Fred, all you have to do is observe silence. Fred keeps asking, you know, how do I cover my own mouth? Meditate. Meditate, meditate. So let's end with just a brief meditation here. And again, I thank you everyone for being present. And this is the beginning. This is the deconstructing of our mind that is very necessary to this notion, to this idea of collapsing time and space, of collapsing those bullets, of collapsing everything in the world that you would think that you need to defend yourself against or attack in order to be safe or to be suspicious of. All of that is rooted in a fear-based realm of belief, of thought, of speech. And so we allow ourselves to rest in love. And so let's go ahead and do that now. Let's find a comfortable seat and take a moment to close the eyes. Let's take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And two more, a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And one more, full inhale. And a full exhale. Allowing Your eyes to relax, your body, your shoulders, your face to relax. Feel your sit bones through the glutes relax down into the chair, the bench, so wherever it is you might be seated. Feel a gentle lengthening up through the spine from that place, and a further relaxing down of the shoulders away from the ears. Let your brow soften, your jaw soften. Imagine a space at the center of your heart, a little ball of light, a little seed of light. And we're going to take 3 breaths into this little seed, this little dot in the center of the heart. And in 3 breaths, we are going to expand and expand and expand this tiny little dot into a beautiful orb of light that will encompass your body and your body's aura. So using our visualization ability, our ability to use our imagination, to use, to access love, to access light. And knowing that love is light, knowing that light is love, we place our awareness at this beautiful point of light in the center of the heart, and we slowly breathe in to this tiny dot of light. And as we breathe in, that light begins to expand and become larger and larger, breathing in. And as we exhale, we see the further expansion of this orb now of light that becomes larger and larger and larger and begins to expand beyond our shoulders, down below our belly button, and even above our head. And with our second breath, we further breathe into what is love and light. We breathe love and light into what is love and light, and we feel and we sense and we know that this orb of light from the center of our heart is expanding more and more to the degree that it extends beyond our feet and above and beyond our head and our bodies. And with our final breath, breathing love and light into this beautiful, shining, shimmering orb that surrounds our bodies. And as we exhale, allowing this orb of light from the center of our heart to expand out as far as it will go, as far as we can imagine it. And at the end of that exhale, simply allowing ourselves to be in the center of this love, of this light that is ever eternal, that is our truth, that is our sincere knowing, resting and relaxing into peace, relaxing into knowing that the truth in our hearts will always meet us in the highest ways. As we have the courage to allow ourselves to meet our truth, to speak our truth, we create the timelines that give rise, that create providence and momentum, that more of that truth will be added unto us. And as we continue to meet that truth in our hearts, through the thoughts that we think, that we repeat, again through this grid matrix of collective consciousness, we send forth these ripple effects of thoughts rooted in love, that we will be met with other thoughts rooted in love. And so the space that we create for ourselves to experience the time that we speak from our tongues is love. Love above, love below, all around us. Feel into this feeling. Take a breath in and out. Feel yourself able to relax in this expanded sense that love offers, self-realization offers, that being in the world but not of it, that is exiting the matrix, that this offers, that this is. And higher self, collective higher self that is a part of all of us. We ask that you would help to guide our thoughts and our words, both silently and those spoken, that they be aligned courageously, clearly, and with grace, with respect for ourselves and others, with the truth in our hearts, that truly our minds, our thoughts, our speech, our words, and heart become synchronized with our body's 3D experience, that we may bridge heaven on earth, that we may again be in the world and not of it, and live in a 4D consciousness. And for the highest good of all, so it is. We'll take another deep breath in and a full breath out. 2 more, a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And 1 more, full breath in and a full breath out. And now take your time to just gently awaken the body and blink the eyes open. Bring awareness back to the space that you are. Thank you so much again, everyone. I'm so very grateful for this community. I bless all the subscribers, all the followers. Thank you for sharing this platform with me. I'm truly in my truth. And I'm so very grateful to have your witness here with me, to share this sacred space together. If you're new and you're watching from the sidelines, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Go down to the show more box. I have a few free books you can download. I have a few books, bigger books you can purchase. And as always, you're welcome to join at my website and subscribe there for my monthly love letter. So grateful. Thank you so very much. May you enjoy a very, very blessed day. And again, next week's 4D Trinity, alcohol, sobriety, and the higher self. That's going to be fun. Thank you too, Fred. I appreciate your presence here. Boom. Okay, blessings. Blessings. Oh, so many lovely messages. Thank you. Thank you. So I pray that that meditation served you, everyone. Thank you so very much for being here. And I look forward to our further conversations on exiting the matrix. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and namaste with so much love.